All right, we are back. This is part 2 of the reaction to the Content Cop by iDubbbz on H3. Managed to stretch out the first one a lot longer than planned, but you know that's how it goes. So far, this has been a very interesting situation where iDubbbz has kind of kept his silence on this matter for a while now, and like he just cannot continue to let Ethan like continue to drag his name through the mud, insist that he should have like condemned Hassan, condemned all these other orbiters in that area. It seems like at this stage, most of the content so far has been around like the idea of their like personal friendship, some of the complications there, the expectations of like calling out other communities. It's not gone into a lot of the like really nitty-gritty details that I kind of would have expected. So I'm curious to see if the second half covers into that. This time I've got me some Jersey mics, so if you see me munching on sandwich, that is why. My apologies. Hopefully it's not too loud. I'm also trying to get the first video uploaded as I record this one, so hopefully OBS does not crash or there's some sort of issue with that one. We'll see how it goes.
There was a way to approach this to say like, yeah, we feel hurt by you guys not saying something. You've decided to do the extra something. You've decided to do the extra thing and attack. Now, in fairness, I am attacking back, but I feel very insulted and I feel defensive and I feel like I am speaking up for a lot of people who have problems with you and a lot of people who have been on the receiving end of your harassment.
Yeah, I mean, like, H3 just kept dragging other people into this. It's like his own personal, his own personal drama, effectively. And his insistence to, like, flail and bring as many people into it as possible is deeply immature, disturbing. And so it's like, I don't... Part of me likes a more, like, active stance on these things, but I can understand from iDubbbz's perspective why, like, he would not want to even, like, touch this topic. He's been far more low-key since kind of returning to prominence. Why would he want that heat unnecessarily when H3's fans are known for having like massive hate brigades? It's like they've learned all of the wrong things from the Destiny community. Not like there's a whole lot of right to learn from that community at this point. But yeah, I get the defensiveness. Like, he was just like randomly thrown astray, and like, what, is he expected not to respond? Or are you just going to continue to let this effectively bully just throw his weight around and send his audience to harass people? No, at some point you need to say enough is enough and you need to call it out. I get that.
It's so easy to be anti-racist. Everybody's anti-racist. Racism is the worst thing in the world, right? We fucking hate racists. Fuck racists.
Microaggressions.
The minute that they actually have to stick their neck out for somebody, the minute they have to actually risk something to put themselves in under scrutiny, to sacrifice something personally to stand up for racism, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't want to get involved.
And that's drama.
How much do you...
What does this have to do with racism? Is he suggesting that Israelis are a race? Is that like where this is connected? I sure hope that's not where he's going with this one.
I don't do drama.
How much do you actually care? If you're... Isn't that the whole point? Like...
I realize that Ethan and Hila are more scared now than they've probably ever been. I feel like anti-Semitism is a thought in their heads now more than ever. And it's not completely unjustified to be thinking about that sometimes. You guys are just hurt and you're kind of like dancing around and making very like loose, poorly thought out analogies for something that doesn't even apply to us.
Yeah, so on the anti-Semitism topic, gonna get my ass fucking canceled. Both things, again, can be true. Thing number one, anti-Semitism is unambiguously on the rise. We have prominent politicians in the Republican Party and their associates just saying Nazi shit. We have Elon Musk doing a Hitler salute. Anybody claiming that it wasn't just a blatant Nazi salute is a fucking liar or a moron. Anti-Semitism is a huge issue, and it's getting worse with every day. But on the same side, just labeling things that you don't like because you happen to be Jewish anti-Semitic, any criticism against you as anti-Semitic, you are dangerously harming your own cause and delegitimizing the entire label. It is a huge problem, and you're doing a disservice to actual genuine cases of anti-Semitism. And don't even get me started about the conflation between Israelis, Jews, and how anti-Semitism is in that mix. Not all Jews are Israeli, and Israelis are part of a fascist ethno-state engaging in a genocide. Criticizing Israel is not explicitly anti-Semitic. It's not one and the same. The problem comes in that Israel has a lot of vested interest to make any criticisms of Israel be perceived as anti-Semitic. So Ethan continuing to use this argumentation is very hurtful to Jews all around the world for being associated with Israel, again, an ethno-nationalist, fascist, genocide, apartheid state. It's a really tricky one. Again, both can be true, that it's in an inappropriate label that he continues to sling at people as like a sort of like a final gotcha. You know, it's his trump card. But at the same time, this be a genuine problem. Tiptoeing that line is difficult, but Ethan is making it so much harder for actual anti-Semitism to be called out.
It's like me making this video is the standing up for something, and it's saying, fuck you, you guys are being bad. You know, I don't think you're bad people, but you're being bad. You're behaving poorly. You're hurting people.
I mean, go back to the civil rights. You think that the people who are like the white kids who are protesting with the black students, you think that they were just like not risking anything? Those kids who are marching with the black students and...
So in Ethan's analogy, he's the black...
I don't get it, because again, you guys are backing a genocidal regime. That is still just like this looming like elephant in the room behind this entire stupid YouTube drama that like... It is fundamentally about who is and who isn't backing a genocidal regime. Fucking baffling that this is even like a conversation that's being had.
Student, and I'm the white student, but I'm the white student that's not, you know, marching by his side. I'm not doing the difficult thing. You're gonna have to march on your own, black student.
Marching with the black students and...
I mean, why is it inspiring? Why is it inspiring?
Well, and it's the same thing... bring it back to Hassan just because, but it kind of is the same thing. Like, I was thinking about going to Gaza until I found out it's dangerous. He's a total performative activist that doesn't give a single fuck about the...
Hassan could never make it into Gaza. It is an apartheid state. You would literally never even make it. You would be denied entry into Israel. Then, assuming you somehow got into Israel, you would be denied entry into Gaza. It's just not happening.
It's been performed exquisitely. Harassing one person and seamlessly transitioning into harassing another one. If anyone's been watching for the past fucking year, I'm pretty sure they have a good idea of your feelings about Hassan.
Like, people like Anissa are the perfect example because she's friends with these people. She's friends with Denims. Denims is streaming this story about our kid getting Giarda from the dog, whatever.
I'm sorry, I'll accept this position from anyone except you guys. You have laid the groundwork for this type of streaming, which is watching people's shit and giving your unfiltered reaction to it. Why would you expect Anissa, of all people, to say something to Denims? Okay, so by that logic, we should be saying shit to you guys all the time. But I have a feeling you guys wouldn't like if we said shit like that to you all the time. Yeah, we've been respecting you as independent content creators. You can do what you want. We'll treat you as adults. Maybe we shouldn't have been treating you as adults.
Yeah, they just can't handle the platform. They've been so irresponsible with the way that they've handled things over the last year. It's like, at some point, you need to take a step back. This isn't healthy for you. It's not healthy for your fan base. And again, this is all around a fucking genocide. Like, and they talk about this stuff every day. I can't even imagine what it would be like to watch H3's content daily and it just be a constant cavalcade of like fear-mongering about perceived anti-Semitism, ranting and raving about Hassan, ranting and raving about anybody associated with Hassan, just getting mad all the time. Like, I can't imagine what that would do to a person to just be subjected to that so frequently.
Say so much, and it would make her a little bit uncomfortable, right? It's not comfortable. She'll get a little bit of shit.
Yeah, just for saying that.
But that would be commendable.
And by the way, it kind of speaks for itself that saying, hey, their house is clean, they're, you know, they're actually good people, like that's gonna get you shit. That kind of says it all, doesn't it?
There isn't a single person that I respect who would give a fuck if I publicly said that Ethan and Hila are great with their kids, Ethan and Hila didn't kill their dog, and Ethan and Hila wipe their asses or don't have giardia or whatever the prompt is. No one would care. The only person who would care is me, because I'm like, why did I tweet this out? I'm not tweeting out because I'm not your fucking lapdog. That's why I'm not tweeting it out. I'm not saying it to my audience because I don't give a fuck. It's not my business.
That's in my...
Well, again, he just doesn't owe him that. They're just like vague internet acquaintances. He doesn't owe you that.
My opinion, doing something that's difficult and standing by your principles. That's the whole point. That's what makes standing by your principles admirable, is that it's not always easy.
Why are you saying that I'm not standing?
For Ethan to talk about standing by your principles while then having like massive harassment mobs and then like making threats of lawsuits and trying to dox Redditors who criticize you, standing by your principles. Okay, yeah, you sure learned a real great lesson from the bold guy. This is really one of those, what is the phrase, like, live long enough to... You know the one. I'm struggling here about becoming a bad guy. You're becoming the bad guy, Ethan. Fuck. You see like these people who are like so good in the beginning, and then they just continue onward, and they're never letting well enough alone. They continue to just spiral like...
Up for my principles when you don't even know what they are. I get like we're a little bit past directly naming me, so we might have gone off on a tangent. If you maybe accepted the phone call and we talked about it, you could have asked me, hey, what are your principles? And I can tell you the way I've been behaving is exactly in line with my principles. Now we're going to talk about the BDS list. We're going to start off with Frogan because obviously this is like as bad as it gets. If you're following Frogan, that can only mean that you're anti-Ethan. Oh, this is not a good start. Love of the H3 podcast. You are following Frogan, so that means that you are anti-Ethan. Sam, Morg Pie, friend of the show. Olivia, Ian, Daily Dose of Internet, is anti-Ethan? Jesus, this is fucked up. Pokimane, comment etiquette. Oh shit, Asmongold's in here? Asmongold follows Frogan.
Talk about another person who is way too uninformed and stupid to be engaging in politics, and he just insists on keep doing it. Asmongold is his own fucking entity. Holy shit. Part of me wants to talk about that one in another video, but like to give an aside context. Back a couple years ago, I did work at a greenhouse job. And so towards the end of the season, I had to spend basically large amounts of the day just collecting and washing the tray holders that the plants would be kept in. And so it was mostly just me kind of existing. And so during this time, I decided that I was going to watch, well, more listen. I wasn't really watching. Listening to the entirety of Asmongold's coverage of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard lawsuit. And that was one of the most bizarre experiences ever because, like, Asmongold clearly wants to be involved in these subjects, but he's got fucking nothing to say. It was basically just him having, like, an incel moment. He was, like, the only one giving commentary on the entirety of the trial, and I really like listening to these kind of trials that are very complex and have a lot of moving parts and have, like, a lot of these, like, ambiguities and then the parasocial relationship stuff. And so while I tolerated it, like, he had some of the weirdest nonsensicalist takes. He had such a predisposed bias in favor of Johnny Depp that was, like, not justifiable. I had no particular like for either individual, so it was just so strange seeing him trying, even years ago, to get into a more, like, social issue subject and just have fucking nothing for it. How is Asmongold still a thing? Oh my god. My room is an absolute shit show disaster of, like, a mess, but, like, look up pictures of Asmongold's room and tell me that you want to get opinions on politics and social issues from this dude. Clean your room, bucko. Make Jordan Peterson good again.
No, Asmon. That means you're anti-Ethan. That's fucked up. We're going to want to avoid these creators at the top of the list, but one tier below them are the creators who associate with them. They're essentially endorsing all of their statements. You got me, you got Anissa, I think Hassan's in there. You'd think that Hassan would be on the top of the BDS list, but that's not the case. Hassan provides additional value for people. Ethan can turn a blind eye to people collaborating with Hassan because that's what he did. You got to be the lowest of the low to be associating with the Frogans and the Denims of the world. To associate with Hassan, that just makes sense because he's famous and he's got a massive fan base. Also, Ethan still follows Hassan on Instagram, so Hassan is in his feed.
And that's showing up right up on Nissa's and iDubbbz's feed.
It's important to remember that this is a living document and people can be...
It's like he literally just wants new shit to get mad at all the time. Like, he needs to just continue this cycle. Why would you be following him? Just stop talking about it. Move the fuck on. Like, it's so inconsequential. Move on.
Removed or put onto it depending on how Ethan's feeling that day. You have this other tier of creators that exist below Hassan but are still anti-Ethan, but Ethan really doesn't want to bring your attention to these ones because it's kind of unpopular, you know? A lot of them are famous. It's no coincidence that Ethan stays silent when these powerful, popular men are supporting Hassan. It's because Ethan is a coward. He's a bitch-made coward. I think Ethan has an unreasonable amount of respect for these comedians.
Yeah, I mean, the cowardice thing is really quite telling. Again, Hassan made his stance very clear following the content nuke that he would only watch it if it was, like, with Ethan present. And Ethan just, like, completely disregarded this as a thing. He just continued being like, oh, well, no, you need to watch it first and then we talk. It's like, well, why can't you defend your ideas in person as well? Are you incapable? Are you admitting that it was just a hack smear job? It reeks of cowardice, right? Like, some people don't do great with extemporaneous speaking. Some people don't do great in that kind of, like, debate format where it would be confrontational. But, like, Ethan has a podcast live. You can't simultaneously do that, but then be too much of a coward to actually have a complicated discussion. And then it's one of those, like, I hate to agree with Steven Crowder on this one, but it's like, yeah, the one time where he had the opportunity for a debate, he did call in Sam Cedar to debate Crowder instead. So he technically did coward back out of that one too. Those are such simpler times, man. The fact that I, like, kind of look back on parts of the early COVID pandemic with nostalgia is, like, deeply telling about just how worse everything has been lately. Fucking hell.
Because they have power, they're quick, and I think he knows that they don't fuck with his ideology. But he's going to keep that to himself because the last thing that he wants to discover is that people that he respects and looks up to, they don't fuck with him.
Bill Burr came on. It was like the worst fucking show. It was just horrible. That was like...
The Bill Burr podcast episode, I think, may be the point where I was like, oh, yeah, Ethan can't podcast for shit. Like I said, I was watching Ethan's content on YouTube back when he and Hila were still in Israel. So, like, this was a long-ass time ago. And I continued to watch it. Then he started doing more collabs. It was interesting. And then he announced the podcast idea. And I watched the first few episodes, and it was mostly just dudes shooting the shit. But they were all, like, already pre-established friends. And so when Ethan brought on Bill Burr, who I already had a separate level of, like, huge respect for as a comedian, and Ethan was so fundamentally incapable of having that conversation with Bill Burr, that podcast, as far as I'm concerned, is like a kind of torture level of secondhand cringe. Like, it just hurts to watch, and it revealed that Ethan has very little to say outside of, like, vague drama, vague goofs and gaffes. And again, that's fine, but, like, don't go beyond your means in a way that just embarrasses you. And speaking of Bill Burr, fuck, I need to do content about Bill Burr. He is one of the few comedians who has maintained, like, a lot of respect to this day. His commentary on your boy Luigi too is Free Luigi. Yeah.
My lowest moment on podcast history. We could talk about Bill Burr ruined my life. Bill Burr made Ethan go on Luxembourg.
Bill Burr ruined your life? Bro, you invited him and then made like the worst content from it. Like, God, that shit was so awkward. If you've not seen that or seen clips from it, I feel like you owe it to yourself for that kind of punishment. If you feel like you're in the need of some punishment, go watch that and try to sit through it stone cold sober and not doing anything else.
Bro, I was prescribed it and it was in my bedside. And then it was the Bill Burr episode that made me finally start.
When Stavros goes on Hassan's stream and he mocks your content nuke.
I actually saw a really interesting video about you, man, and I don't know that I'm even comfortable being here anymore.
Oh, no.
It really kind of shed light on you in a way.
Yeah.
You kind of like have leftist politics and stuff like that. And I actually feel...
What? Hassan is leftist? What? He can't be a socialist? I thought he was a liberal. He hates liberal.
Betrayed.
Yeah,
that content nuke was genuinely like one of the dumbest smear pieces I've seen from like a video essay in so long. That really says something. There are so many dumb smear piece takedowns for what possesses a man to make that video? What the
So I'm actually just here to let you know this is the last time I'm ever coming.
You don't fire back because you're coping. So you're just going to tuck your tail between your legs and never mention on your podcast that mentions everything. You're bringing up some fucking connection I have on Twitter. Someone mocks you on a stream, you're not touching it. Fuck.
Yeah, notice how Ethan has no problems shit-talking Hassan to his dedicated audience and has no problem shit-talking like random small content creators vaguely associated with Hassan and randos on Reddit. He'll have no issue going into extreme specific details, sending harassment mobs against them, but the moment that it's somebody else who has their own established audience who is not in his immediate circle, he's got fuck all to say about it. Interesting how that is.
You're a coward. It's just his job. It's just what he does for his job. You know, he doesn't mean it. We're actually good friends. You know, he makes fun of everyone. It's not just me, right? Oh, also, I can't forget about Matt Lieb. Matt Lieb is in this like middle tier. His valuable association is Rhett and Link. So Rhett and Link, conveniently, are also in this category of popular and powerful men who Ethan does not want to burn bridges with. Although he's sniffing around.
This guy, Matt Lieb, he works for Good Mythical Morning. Of all people, this guy, Matt Lieb, who apparently is a producer for Good Mythical Morning. Well, this guy works for Good Mythical Morning, acting like he's wholesome, and he's bringing on somebody that wants to kill my wife. Or
Yeah, that's one of those, if you're not familiar, Bad Empanada is one of those people to where he may genuinely be in, like, top 10 most deranged, crazy people on YouTube. His videos tend to be quite well done, but him as a person... wild. Wild. It is believed that it's possible that he was the one who made that CPS call. Yeah, that is a situation where, like, I don't agree with Ethan on many things, but even associating with Bad Empanada, as far as I'm concerned, is like a mark against you.
Video game. And I think he should be fired, frankly. And I hope he is fired. He's pathetic. And he interviewed a fucking, basically a terrorist.
I think Ethan only...
Basically a terrorist. Does Bad Empanada qualify as a internet terrorist, perhaps? Bad Empanada is so... He has probably been banned from social media dozens of times. He has a long history of harassing other creators, a long history of sending, like, weird threats. I don't understand. Like, his videos are fine. You know, like, it's something like... It seems like he has a big issue with, like, rage and irrational behavior. And so, like, when he's able to, like, you know, make a video and, like, take the time to, like, write a script and edit it, it seems to, like, dull a lot of the crazy. But, like, if he's just, like, on social media, he says the craziest shit.
Respects power right now, which is one of the reasons I made this video in the first place, is because he thinks I'm weak. He thinks a lot of these other creators that he's gone out of his way to attack, he thinks that they're weak, and he thinks they're a target that he can bully, he can manipulate, he can send lawsuits to. And I want him to know that we're not going to be bullied. You're being a piece of shit, and we're going to call you out.
So here's the button. You've got a video and you've got an audio. We're hitting both.
Yeah, so the whole like where Ethan has to like retract bits from his live stream where it's like that pause thing. I believe this is what this is referencing. I'm mixed on it because like on one hand it's like if you feel like you need that necessary, it kind of suggests that it's maybe not appropriate that you do so much live content. But on the same point, like it seems fine. You know, if sometimes you'll say shit that you don't fully mean, or you're saying it out of like rash, or you don't appreciate the consequences that language might have. I get that. I have that. Everybody has that. So I can't blame him for having that, but it is one of those like it seems like it happens a lot more recently.
I don't want to go there.
Yes.
There's no point.
Let's leave.
Yeah, there's no need.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Oh, shit. Like, how pathetic are you? Don't worry if you don't have it all now. I don't like pedophile. Like the Eye of Sauron. I see you. I see you out there, you fucking cockroach. You'll be living with your parents for a lot longer, buddy. Yes, please. I want to be a good Jew. I'm a good Jew. Please, guys, please.
That was fine. Yeah, I don't think it was that
was fine.
big a deal. Of all the things that
Anywho.
it always surprises me what
The
you
button.
across the board.
Well, I've looked at Olivia and she's like, yes, do it.
Now let's talk about the button. Ethan got this button, or kill switch, as a response to the controversy with Cutie Cinderella. He was not able to control himself in that moment, and instead of figuring out how he can change his behavior, he spent $20,000.
Dan and Ela were like, we would kill button that right now if we could. I can't change who I am.
I know. That's why.
Yes, you can. I always hate that as an excuse for bad behavior. Everybody can change, everybody has the capacity to change, but you have to have the will to try to change. And it's clear that he would rather stick with his ego, stick with his continued really irresponsible behavior, and kind of find like a band-aid solution than address the core issue.
The kill button is on its way.
That's it. See, exactly.
He uses the button for everything. If his jokes don't land, he's hitting the button.
It was being presented as if the Jordan crying thing.
I hit the button.
Why?
I don't think I needed to, but you guys were giving me crickets, so I panicked.
If he's insecure about getting something wrong, he's hitting the button.
But okay.
You but
What? What on this frame could Ethan have responded to? Perhaps the country flag that he got wrong? Maybe. I don't know.
If he goes on a problematic tirade, he's hitting the button.
Before, look how sad. But yeah, it's not just that. Like their eyes are like big. I think you guys are wrong on this one. I think you guys are all wrong on this one.
I don't think he's unique in hitting the button. I think if all of us had buttons, we'd hit the button all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it has its uses. I don't like it being used as a crutch for poor behavior. I can completely understand why you may want that in a context of a live stream in front of many people, especially when you have a history of misspeaking. But then it makes you wonder, why is this the medium by which you're making content? That this is necessary.
But if you don't have it, you operate differently. You think about what you're saying. You maybe plan for your show a little bit more. You maybe say, I'm not going to have my podcast be an emotional dumping ground for today. You instead say, ooh, it's important that we stay on topic. Also, the H3 community and Ethan himself use the phrase goblin mode all the time to excuse a lot of his shitty behavior or make it seem less bad.
I've been diagnosed with goblin mode, actually.
By claiming that what happens is he just gets into this like uncontrolled state he refers to as goblin mode.
I do not call myself goblin mode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what you did.
Goblin mode? Is that what you're calling Tourette's now?
Are you for real? You're really gonna pull that? Oh my god. I can't even imagine like making a comment like that. That is so weaponizing. That is so gross.
All victims of goblin mode, I would like to issue an apology.
You are goblin mode today. You're goblin mode. Look how many times you paused the
I'm trying,
video.
bro.
And I don't think there's no room for using the term goblin mode. I like
The problem with it is it distances bad behavior away from him as a person. So rather than it being, oh, Ethan engaged in poor behavior, he has the ability to change it, but he did the behavior. He's making it sound like Goblin Mode is like a force that is like put upon him. You know, that it's without consent, it happens, it's without his like, you know, he can't be held responsible for Goblin Mode. It's childish, it's stupid.
the idea that you're defending yourself and the little guy by going Goblin Mode when a big corporation or a big entity is trying to attack you.
Like, if you fuck me over, if you steal money from me, if you patronize me, if you do any of this shit like you're trying to do to me, to treat me like a fucking idiot, I'm crazy, dude. I've gone fucking Goblin Mode over way less.
But you not thinking about what you're saying, not, you know, reflecting on your behavior, not changing your behavior, that's not Goblin Mode. That's being a child.
It's childish. It is, again, distancing responsibility for poor behavior. Everybody has those moments where they say shit that they don't mean, or they do things that are, you know, it's not helping them. It's not benefiting them. It's unskillful in the Buddhist term. But, like, by making it not be a part of you, by distancing it, it prevents you from actually growing as a person. It's quite clear Ethan has no desire to grow. He's way more ego-driven than he has any business being.
About the crew. I think the crew has been put in the worst working environment that you possibly can be for a fucking podcast. Every crew member has it bad. To be around Ethan, period, would be a nightmare right now.
Yeah, I genuinely cannot imagine having to go into work every day and then this dude be your boss and he's having a repeat crash out on social media, constantly ranting and raving about his enemies. I can't even imagine. Like, I genuinely do. And then, like, your livelihood is based on your association with this dude. Wild, absolutely wild. And then you, as a person working for him, then end up having to, like, put up with retributive harassment from, like, the fucking fans of the people that Ethan attacks, and it's like this constant back and forth, horrible, where you have all of this attention but, like, none of the power to really do anything about it.
I'm standing by every fucking syllable of that, okay? What she did was abhorrent. And by the way,
just don't listen. Your critique of her is correct. It's just you know, people are sensitive about women being called that word, and so,
like, how pathetic are you? You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm not assuming his pronouns, and fuck all these people.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No,
and I'm not yelling at you. I'm just. Kelly is a black woman, right?
Yes.
Maziel is a
Korean.
Oh, Dan, come on. You being such a buzzkill. Yeah, I didn't know Korean. I asked if Koreans are POs. God.
You know, Dan's in the bathroom. Let's just not do this right now.
I asked if Korean people are POCs.
The one time the button didn't work and we listened to how he spoke to...
He asked if Koreans are people of color. What? What? Oh, okay. How could you be that, like, not aware of...
AB without thinking that the internet was going to hear it. It was rude, it was nasty, and it didn't have this caveat of, like, I'm not mad at you. It was anger, and it was uncalled for.
Use they get access to cover most of it.
We're doing it.
What are you doing?
So awkward and terrible.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Just like this is what I'm talking about when it's always like.
We need to get home for our kids.
It's like, bro.
Oh no, I didn't want to finish it right now. I was just talking about finishing Wednesday.
On Friday, maybe. Is it?
You guys, like...
All right, I'm taking my hand up. What? Okay, well.
Heard all that.
Thanks, Button.
And he didn't want to take accountability for it. He immediately wanted to deflect, and he wanted to say that the button fucked him.
First of all, I appreciate the hard work.
I know you do.
And I loved it, and I really enjoy it. But it's like every time we do it, it's like the show is what it is, and
I know.
it makes it.
I was being selfish.
No, dude, that button me, dude.
No, you fucked yourself. You said some dumb shit and you thought that you had an easy fallback to not take responsibility for your actions. This is such a crutch for his bad behavior. It is really disgusting.
Can you imagine that button f***ing me over like that?
The button fucked you? AB fucked you? Who fucked you? You fucked yourself by being an asshole. He makes it seem like he's not a tyrant of a boss.
We're doing it.
What are you doing?
So awkward and terrible. I appreciate the hard work.
I know you do.
And I
know.
loved it, and I really enjoy it.
Dan, his producer, is constantly clarifying things on the air and making it clear that what Ethan said was a joke, Ethan is being overly defensive, or he's saying things that are like not true and he's exaggerating.
People saw that. They thought that that was what you searched to
I did
pull
not
up
type
that photo. So I'm just clarifying.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate you doing that. God forbid. Why?
Because
It's not that big of a deal, man.
just
Like,
your
how
inability to.
No. Hold on, Dan. How does it change anything? People knowing that we did it.
It's fun when it's a surprise.
Okay, well,
Well, you just asked how it changed
Surprise
things.
them on your show.
Okay. All right.
You know,
Dan needs to get the fuck out of there. Holy shit. How does he put up with, like, he's got to be making bank from I don't know what would convince me to stay on at that point. And it's one of those, like, with your standard, like, business relationship thing with your boss. I mean, this is, like... This style of social media business is so uniquely designed around, like, toxic workplace environment to where, like, not only is your boss, like, the host of the show, but it's the guy who has, like, all of this attention from the fan base that you've been a part of. So, like, even if you left amicably, you would not really have any means to stop them from, like, talking major shit and harassing you and giving you a hard time. Any criticism you have, even towards, like, Ethan as, like, an interpersonal relationship way. You know, like, hey, man, we've been friends for ages, but I feel like you've really lost the plot on this one. Like, the fact that would have implications towards your job... I can't. It sounds truly miserable.
understand that that's his role, and he's, you know, Ethan's made that his job, or Dan's made it his job. Ethan leans on it so heavily. In the same way that he leans on the butt, Ethan is leaning on all of these people to be adults and look after his behavior and give all of this emotional and empathetic energy for Ethan, but Ethan refuses to give it back to them.
Yeah, I mean, it is fine to have a person like Dan be there to, like, you know, make sure that you're on topic, make sure you're not saying inappropriate things. It's fine to have the button. The issue is just how much Ethan falls back on using these support systems as a replacement for actually growing as a person. He's using it as like a complete crutch. You know, it's getting in the way of progress, not actually helping him.
Also, let's talk about AB and Lena, two Lebanese employees, and you just continue to talk about the conflict like they don't exist. It would be nicer, a lot nicer, for you to shut the fuck up about it. You're allowed to do that.
Hezbollah in Syria alone killed double that much. All right, I'm going to move on. I just want to play Hassan talking about that empanada.
Ethan doesn't want to change, and he wants to bring the entire crew down with him, because he's putting them in this position every day, right? But it's more important that he gets this shit off his chest. It's more important that he dumps. We're all familiar with Goblin mode. Well, Ethan debuted a new mode recently.
And by the way, my ratio is pretty good. Like, I'm looking at like 20 Goblin modes to 1 too far. Demon mode, let's call it.
Or you could, you know, just take responsibility for your own actions and stop trying to distance it from yourself. Have you tried that? Is that a thing you've ever considered doing?
What makes demon mode different than goblin mode is goblins aren't really like an intimidating, powerful force. If the goblin is persistent, it can get what it wants.
When I'm done with the other one, the big one that's dropping probably next week, my full attention is going to you, George. Like the Eye of Sauron. I see you. I see you out there, you fucking cockroach.
Ethan, the reason the internet got behind you when you were being sued by Matt Haas or when you were being sued by Ryan Kavanaugh is because people saw you as the underdog. They saw you as the guy who's defending the common man.
I'm suing, and I cannot wait for you guys to read it. At the moment, we are writing 3 complaints for 3 people.
You are doing the classic rich asshole thing. You have a deficit of friends, you have a surplus of enemies. You feel really bad, you feel hurt, but you also have a surplus of money. So what can you do?
Harass other people.
Money to bully and intimidate people. These public legal threats that you're making to fellow creators, these legal threats that you're making to people on Reddit, on Twitter, you're like...
Yeah, can you imagine threatening a lawsuit over somebody who made a comment on Reddit? As a public figure, right? So I mentioned it before with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard lawsuit situation. The thing that made that so interesting is, in addition to like... When it is dealing with defamation of a public figure, you have to prove actual malice. You can't just say that like, oh, they said a thing that is false and that it is harmful. You also have to prove that they are knowingly spreading false information with the explicit goal of harming you. So making these threats of a lawsuit on a Redditor are just slap lawsuits. Strategic lawsuit against public participation. There's literally no shot he would win this in like an actual court of law. It's just to harass and silence people for criticizing him. Horrible behavior. It's genuinely the kind of shit that like Donald Trump used to do. You do not want that association. You don't want to be the slap lawsuit guy. Yeah. Talk about a fall from grace. What the fuck?
I'm hurt. These people are hurting me. What do I do to stop it? There's nothing I can do to stop it. I'm powerless. No, you have a ton of power, you have a ton of options, you have a ton of choice. That's exactly what you get for being filthy rich, is you can do all of these things.
I've never want to sue someone for defamation, but like at what point do you kind of fucking have to?
If you can demonstrate actual malice, which I don't think you can do. That's how it works. Otherwise, you're just basically harassing people for no reason, forcing them to pay a bunch of legal fees for your stupid-ass lawsuit because your ego was hurt.
I mean, this is like basically someone calling you a pedophile. Be like, yeah, no, Ethan's a pedophile.
Dan Clancy or whatever, like the CEO of Twitch.
Okay, I was hoping he was going to make this comparison right away. iDubbbz is on point with this one.
Pedophile. Dan KKK Clancy has a similar view of Hitler. Because Dan Clancy, the Nazi... fucking anti-Semite. There are certain things you can accuse people of that rise above to make it like actionable, which is like wrongfully accusing someone of being a pedophile, a sex criminal, a murderer, shit like that. Dan Clancy now, in other words, he is a pedophile.
You have so much less to go off of saying that than anybody has about Dream.
Yeah, so that's one of those like another part of the actual malice aspect to a defamation lawsuit is like, not only can it be like you're intentionally knowing it, but like you are spreading information with complete reckless disregard for the truth. That would be sufficient to prove actual malice. Where like you don't know it to be true, but you just want it to be a smear and you don't care to actually be able to back it up. Him saying that, I feel like you could make a case for that what he just did was indeed slander, and even as a public figure to another public figure, he might be able to be held liable for that one. Is it worth the effort? Probably not, but I don't know. He sure is throwing a lot of stones at from his glass house. Well,
just based on his.
Well, at least you're self-aware.
That's 100%.
Just based on his looks.
To conclude that he is.
One of the more notable legal threats that Ethan has sent out recently is against Noah Samson.
I have nothing but vibes to gain, and potentially your money as well. Don't worry if you don't have it all now. I'll garnish your wages. You're gonna be living
villain shit. Like, who says this? Like, any actual attorney. Okay, if he was genuine and knew what he was doing and was trying to sue Noah Samson for defamation or for any matter of things, any competent attorney would tell you to not say shit like that, because that's gonna get your case absolutely torn to shreds, especially during discovery. So it's one of those, like, it just comes off as, like, bluffing and posturing, because there's no way he's consulted with an attorney on that one. They would tell you not to do that. And Ethan would know this, and you would think that if he knew that he was told not to say this shit, and he always relies on the button as a crutch, he would have used the button for this one.
with your parents for a lot longer, buddy. 26, you know what I mean? Try 46.
Noah made a video that was critical of Ethan and other content creators when they're talking about Israel and Palestine. I mean, the way he's talking about Noah on his podcast is so fucking creepy and weird.
Is this a new thing?
This is a new thing. This happened during the show. Upon initial examination, it seems to check out, and it's not great for young Noah.
Can I say that? Don't say it yet.
I'll say it.
So he's a rape. So of course his standard. I don't know what he's accused of, so I'm not actually going to say. But
Ethan brought on a former partner of Noah to basically just shit talk him and say that he's a bad partner. But that's all that Ethan was able to extract out.
Also shit you would never want to do if you were planning on actually suing the man. He's been through court. He should know that you're not supposed to do this shit. It's gonna wreck your fucking case.
You are not accusing him of committing any crimes or doing R-word or anything like that. The accusation is that he's a sleaze.
Absolutely. Noah Sampson, as far as I know, is not a rapist.
How is this relevant? How is that relevant? How does that have anything to do with your claims?
Fuck you to Noah Sampson, who's not just a liar and a scumbag, but also a creep. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Now let's talk about the left-leaning Democrat.
He presents himself as someone like me, a left-leaning Democrat who supports this basic thing.
Hassan? a Democrat? Have you spoken with the man once? Have you watched him talk on any issue once?
The thing that made me start to question Ethan's intentions is that when he was suggested to talk to Sam Cedar, a fellow progressive, a guy that Ethan respects.
Okay, he's talking about Sam Cedar.
He works with Sam Cedar at the Majority Report. I respect him and what they do there.
He kept saying that it was racist or anti-Semitic to suggest that he talked to someone who's within the same ethnic group as him.
That's why I said yesterday, like, I urge Ethan to talk to Sam Cedar. There are very thoughtful, very kind anti-Zionist Jews out there that he could talk to. I don't think that I will be able to reach him.
What's the insinuation that I only listen to other Jewish people? You need to talk to my pre-approved list of Jews that like agree with me.
No, what Hassan is trying to illustrate there is that Ethan's continual equating between Israelis and Jews is harmful, and that Sam Cedar, who is Jewish, is anti-Israel for good reason. It's meant to be a comparison that, like, you don't have to obsess over, you know, the far-right ethno-state fascist, not dictatorship, it's getting pretty close to dictatorship. Apartheid regime committing a genocide isn't in your best interests to defend, and that there are plenty of other Jews who are anti-Zionist, anti-Israel.
On everything, you know, it doesn't matter if they're Jewish, dude. It doesn't matter if they're fucking Jewish.
I think most Jews.
I don't think Jews at large view it. I don't think that is the.
What in what position are you to even say that?
It's not motivated by myself. It's motivated by Jews against anti-Zionist Jews.
Seriously, how can you speak for my entire ethnic group? I find that really interesting.
Oh, and you can speak for your entire ethnic group. Okay. You're doing a real great job advocating for them. It totally is not making you look bad by association.
And I don't know what to fucking tell you. This is like step one of having a leftist ideology, is recognizing our race, religion, nationality, all this shit, all shape our experience.
Intersectionality.
That's the reason why it'd be better served to have this conversation not with myself, but with an anti-Zionist Jewish person.
Why does it matter if they're Jewish?
Because I'm not Jewish, and you've said in this conversation that, like, how can you tell me how to feel about the situation?
Yeah, but how is one person a representative of Jews at large? I'm just telling you how Jewish people around the world interpret that phrase.
Bro, are you for real? I guess he needs the button on, like, video chats as well, I guess.
So yes, Ethan, on occasion you might be suggested to talk to someone who has some crossover with you. It doesn't have to be your ethnicity. It could possibly be someone who shares progressive ideology with you. It could possibly...
Well, and the two have been acquainted in the past. So it's like that is a very solid comparison to be made there. And the core difference being Ethan is a guy who is obsessed with politics despite not knowing how to talk about it whatsoever. And Sam Cedar with the Majority Report is actually, you know, good at that. He's good at that. You could learn a few lessons, Ethan.
be someone who is of your same gender. I think Ethan understands this concept very well. He listened to these women on his show when they told him that he shouldn't be calling women bitches.
This bitch is intolerable. You are such a nasty fucking bitch, Ken.
I don't know if you can call her a bitch though.
She is a bitch. She's a fucking bitch.
Okay,
You're right. I
I'm
call her a
curious.
see you next Tuesday.
Listen, you have.
I'm curious, what do Lena and Sam think about it?
I wouldn't be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like that it's for the girlies, Ethan. But I agree.
It's for the girlies.
You guys all seem to be in consensus that it's in
are.
poor form. I think to respect the women here in the room, I'm gonna have to pass on saying that.
Yeah, so the thing is, it's like, does he have the right to use that term? Sure. I'm not gonna be out here policing speech in that way, but it does belie some sort of like underlining vitriol in the way that he routinely uses that word, the way that he routinely uses it very targetedly. So it's less about the word, it's more about like the word comboed with the vitriol that is the problem. It comes off as bad.
The infantilization of Ethan Klein is fucking nauseating. He's not a child. He is absolutely capable of looking into Hassan, learning about his politics, interviewing, doing loads of things to figure out where he stands.
He presents himself as someone like me, a left-leaning Democrat who supports basic things. And for the first time, I noticed an inordinate amount of radical, hardcore leftists. I mean, I thought we were social democrats, not whatever this was.
Hassan has never presented himself as a social democrat. He has always explicitly been a leftist. He just presents it in a way that's far more like... The issue with a lot of leftist circles is it is very obsessed with academia and very technical language and very like... And some of them will like read these texts almost as though they're like religious. And so Hassan is coming from a far more wide appeal. And so he'll try to make positions be more understood from a perspective that you are not, having read a bunch of literature on the topic beforehand. So, like, I can understand where there could be a misperception from a newcomer, but you can't be saying that as a dude who had a podcast with the man. Have you ever spoken once? Do you have memory issues? Like,
comment from Hassan really started to sound some alarms in my head. I was already getting uncomfortable with our partnership. I started to wonder if I had any idea.
Why didn't you say it then? Convenient how you have a lot of things to say after things have ended, but very little criticism during the moment.
Who this guy actually is.
You made how many episodes with Hassan? Like, this guy made a fucking program with the biggest mega leftist on the platform. Now he's acting like he was tricked and he was incapable of figuring out what this guy's beliefs were.
Yeah, again, like the core thesis here is Ethan is fundamentally unwilling to take responsibility for his own actions. That is the central theme here. Wow, just the amount of ego on this dude. Like, some people are just really not meant for internet fame. Honestly, it's like what I would advise Ethan, just like stop. I mean, he probably has enough money to retire on, but it's like you're going to lose your entire fortune. You're going to get in a lot of trouble, especially if somebody actually follows through in a lawsuit against your defamation. That's far easier to prove. I feel like he's getting towards the found out from the fuck around found out kind of equation.
Bro, I didn't make the fucking leftist program. You did. You made fucking, 60 some odd episodes of this shit for hours talking to this guy? You didn't have a problem with any of it until, Ethan talks about being aware of Hassan's 9/11 comments and then sort of leaves it at that. Like it was just a joke. Actually, I think Ethan describes them as edgy moments or jokes.
You might remember him from such classics as...
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
Now, to be clear, I knew about all these...
That's its own fucking conversation. Yeah. Hassan's point on that one is more demonstrating like the way that the United States' foreign policy impacted and affected the Middle East that brought about a direct causal relationship between the U.S.'s fuckery and then getting attacked on 9/11. The way he went about saying it, yeah, very incendiary, very inflammatory, not the most advisable from like a PR perspective. But like there's no shot that Hassan, that like Ethan did not know Hassan said that, or I can't even imagine they wouldn't have had that conversation at some point. it sure would have been something I would have asked, you know, like, even just out of curiosity, without there being necessarily like a inquisition around it. Like, how do you not... It comes off as he's just fully lying. I don't know how else you can interpret it outside of, like, memory loss or outright lying.
Edgy and controversial jokes at the time we made the show together, because who am I to judge?
No, Ethan.
Yeah, he does have a history of a lot of edgy stuff. Yeah, same with iDubbbz, and they kind of shared one of those moments on one of the earlier podcast episodes, but iDubbbz has taken better accountability for it. Ethan has mostly, you know, dismissed it.
Those aren't jokes, right? When someone makes a controversial statement like that, that's not them trying to be funny. I can understand why you would conflate the two. That is someone who is extremely frustrated and passionate about a particular topic. In this case, American imperialism and terrorism. You could have looked into that. You could have talked to Hassan a little bit more and found out what his internet...
You literally could have just asked. And I don't think that he hadn't asked.
National politics opinions are, but you wouldn't even need to do that. You can look at it online. You're not a victim. You weren't tricked. You made 60 some odd episodes. If you didn't want to go down this route, you shouldn't have done it. But that was your fucking choice. You did it. You are an adult. When Ethan and Hila are watching Matt Lieb saying that one state doesn't represent all Jews, they cannot wrap their heads around the idea.
No single person represents all Jews.
I'm just telling you how Jewish people around the world interpret that phrase.
No single person represents all Jews, as no single state represents all Jews.
This is another weird thing.
What was that face he made? Did you see that? It might be a little bit small on that, but like, let me... Look at his face! He like, literally like...
Represents all Jews!
This is another weird thing.
Oh my God.
Israel, this is a live...
Watch, people are gonna be like, oh, well, that's one of his tics. That's not him, like, having an emotional response. It's always excuses. It's never...
that I see Hassan and people pander. They say that Israel's going to war on behalf of Judaism. They have never... I don't believe that that's ever been stated. And I don't think Israel ever explains that it's, like... I think Israel says it's a place where Jews can go.
No, their international diplomacy very much is front-facing of they are the nation for the Jews. That is their explicit stance. That has been their stance for many, many years. It's basically been their stance since their founding. And they've ramped it up to extremes due to the current conflict because, again, they're trying to genocide a people group and they're trying to label any criticism of their genocide as anti-Semitism. They're literally using one genocide to justify another. It is disgusting. I don't know how you could see that clip and perceive that as anything other than the objective truth. It is a state. A state is a political entity that typically is supposed to represent a people, but states are made up. They're social constructs, right? Like, you don't need it to be that way.
Israel's just a place Jews can go? With that slogan, we might actually have peace. You know, if that's all you're defining Israel as, is a place Jews can go, like, sure. It sounds like America to me. Like, all right.
I don't think that Israel said they represent all Jews. I don't think that's a stance. We're like, hey, displacing Palestinians is all Jewish people.
Ethan is being so disingenuous here to suggest that he doesn't understand what Matt Lieb is saying. Like, he's making a semantic argument. Like, I don't think Israel has said that it represents every last Jew on the planet. I don't think Israel has claimed that. They're not going to say that their most genocidal behavior represents anything to do with them, okay? But what they are going to do is they're going to inexplicably link Israel and Jewishness together, so...
It's their entire strategy. It's the only way that they maintain legitimacy in America and in the West overall. It's very gross. Yeah, it is truly some of the grossest, like, international diplomacy that exists. Awful. Yeah, truly awful. There's not even really like a place that could be used as a comparison. Like, Israel as a state is such a very unique circumstance. it is truly one of the most fascinating nation states that exists, and the way that they weaponize the horrible catastrophes of the Holocaust to justify literally mass cleansing in very similar manners to the people who were living in the place that they all of a sudden are just there again.
When they're being criticized, all of a sudden they have the perfect defense. Oh, another thing I need to mention. There was a tier list. It was called the Who Can Say Habibi tier list. It was presented at TwitchCon as like a panel that was just meant to be lighthearted and fun. And Ethan Klein saw that, and he decided that it was anti-Semitic.
Tier list them, and we're going to need your help to discuss and figure out who can say Habibi and who can't.
And also, we have tiers. We have Arab coded. They ask permission to say Habibi. You know, like you got like a white guy who's like, can I say it? Is it a slur? And then Love Sabra, which is they're not Arab coded at all.
Now, when I first saw this tier list, I immediately knew what it was doing. I was like, oh, it's a play on the who has the N-word pass and who doesn't tier list. Granted, Habibi is very different than the N-word, but it is a cultural word amongst Arabic-speaking people and Muslim people. Like that is a word that's used. Habibi, it means my love. Oh no, don't do that, Habibi. Oh yes, Habibi. You're my Habibi, I'm your...
It's a term of endearment. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Habibi. So yes, it's meant to be a fun way that these Arab content creators can express their Arab culture and be proud of it and happy about it. Because it's not like they have massive representation on the platform.
Especially not progressive Arab voices. It's like we're talking like multi-layers of lack of representation in broader media.
Making a tier list based on race, and nobody has a fucking problem
based on race
with that. Okay, you have a tier list based on race. Where's the Jewish panel? Where's the Jewish panel? Where at the top it says
this ain't about you. Like
it's Jewish. It's a tier list based on Arab to Jew. He's Arab, which is good. That's the best thing you can be on this. That's the best. This is racist.
I will say that conveying information through a tier list is not the most effective thing, but Ethan should...
Yeah, it's like a gimmick joke. Like, I don't know why you're taking it so seriously. Like, it is so inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. To get that mad about it is just...
understand this principle. He did a white slurs tier list with Hassan.
Cracker.
I mean, you know my...
I didn't know that. Okay. Come on, dude.
I take it.
We can't put this as an F. Cracker. I mean, that's got to be at least a D, right?
Pale face, motherfucker.
Pale face. I mean, again, I think that's an F.
Cracker, I think, would probably be like D or F, because it's one of those terms that like basically nobody uses, and the only people who talk about it are like the most racist, annoying white people on earth, complaining about how other people call them a cracker despite it basically never happening. Weak slur, low tier slur.
Hog. So hog is my favorite. I use it all.
Hog is excellent. That's a good one.
All the time.
Him and Hassan feel as though they are white guys, so they felt very comfortable talking about white slurs on their tier list.
I think I'm more white than you. What do you think?
I think I'm white. Like, I'm super white.
Can you understand why Arabs might feel comfortable talking about Arab shit on their tier list, Ethan? You're the white guy. You think you're more white than Hassan.
I think I'm more white than you.
So, yeah, the white guy can say all the things that he wants, like cracker. But the Arabs can't have their tier list.
I would put him also in Arab. I know Turkish people are different.
Notice how they dropped the premise almost immediately that it's about who can say Habibi. And then it's like, Hassan, okay, actually, he's Arab. We fucking love him. He's dope. He's Arab.
Habibi is an Arabic word. That is an Arabic word, Ethan.
Funny about this whole thing is that they say Habibi in Israel. Again, people underestimate just how, like...
I wonder why that might be. I wonder if there was, like, a long-term cultural history that has existed in that region that would explain why a linguistic trend would maintain. I wonder if there's context there.
Mixed Israeli culture is like...
We say Habibi in Israel. Yes, Ethan. Another piece of evidence as to why it isn't anti-Semitic.
This is racist!
If you're not Arab or understand Arab culture at all, which is a lot of Americans, and Ethan Klein presents you this tier list and calls it anti-Semitic, you're just going to eat it up. It's not. Ethan is just proving his location on this tier list under Love Sabra because he doesn't understand Arab culture. There's a lot of Arabs who eat sabra. There's a lot of people like me who eat sabra. A lot of the times it's all that's in the store, and I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna eat it, but it is not the good shit. Like the average Arab American, they're gonna go in the store and the only option they have is fucking sabra, and that sucks that that's the only option, right? Arab community.
Hummus, it's going places. It's a very specific reference that nobody's gonna get.
Communities and distribution facilities are not widespread across the U.S. So what are they left with? They're left with a common, relatable, shitty hummus, which is sabra. And what's so fucking pathetic about this whole thing is after he was able to get these Arab creators banned off of Twitch for 30 days, he goes on to talk about how bad sabra hummus is on his show.
I don't think anybody prefers sabra over homemade, like, restaurant quality hummus. You know, it's what's there.
Yeah, because everybody has access to homemade and restaurant quality hummus. That's the thing that just everybody has. I guess you need to make hummus homemade or get it from a restaurant in order to have the right to eat hummus.
Like weirdly fluffy.
It is fluffy.
Weird.
Yeah.
I would buy it sometimes and eat it. It's not the best.
The problem is with sabra, in my opinion, it's only good for the first 2 days.
For some reason, like, when you eat this sabra shit, it just feels so much heavier. Imagine eating all...
This is making me want to get back into actually eating hummus. Hummus is good, but yeah, sabra just dominates the market. There's a place kind of close to me that has a pretty wide variety of hummus, so I need to get into that again. This is now about hummus. It's going places.
A whole fucking vat of sabra. That's crazy.
Yeah. I've never liked hummus.
Oh, okay.
Well, you hate Jews then.
I don't.
And Arabs.
Yeah.
This is racist.
Yeah, it's almost like you can have a discussion about sabra hummus being a bad hummus without it being at all related to a Jewish thing or an Israeli thing. He can have that discussion as much as he wants on his podcast because we all know his intentions aren't anti-Semitic.
This is what he did. He hit his heart hard.
The Zionism is leading to not accepting other cultures, embracing their own culture, and instead thinking that that is an attack on you. There's this incident on the podcast where they were reacting to Cutie Cinderella, and Ethan was laughing during it. So that ended up being a pretty important wake-up call for Ethan. He made an apology video directed at Cutie Cinderella, and it was graded by a professional psychologist, Dr. Kirk Honda of Psychology in Seattle, and Ethan got an A+ rating.
In terms of a public apology, this is A+.
Ethan won't stop talking about his A+ rating.
You know he rated my apology to Cutie Cinderella a perfect score.
Talk about an ego thing. You're more obsessed with like the way that some guy rated your apology. Okay. If you really were apologetic and you really were trying to move past that, you would just maybe acknowledge it and move the fuck on.
A perfect 10.
A perfect 10 out of 10?
Literally 10 out of 10. Go back. I can teach you how to make a good apology. I'm the best at it.
Oh my god.
I know what a perfect apology is, lady. You fucking don't. Is my perfect apology in this PowerPoint? Dude, I got a perfect 10 out of 10.
By a guy. Like a dude. Just because you're a psychologist doesn't mean that you have the jurisdiction to like guarantee that Ethan is good at apologize. Like it's not at all relevant.
10. This one is actually best apology. Ethan, Klein, you guys, oh my god.
I was trying really...
Are you dead ass? Like in front of a crowd you're going to be saying this shit. Like months to years after it happened.
Really hard to think about an impactful moment during this video. Like, could I do something that would really wake Ethan up? And I don't know if this came from a good place or not, but I came up with the idea of getting Ethan's grade changed from an A to a B at least. So I went to
that's hilarious.
Psychology in Seattle. I'm not confident that Kirk will change his grade, but it's worth trying, and you know, we might learn a thing or two.
Xander! Probably get pretty low marks. Unlike me, perfect score, 10. I said, hey, Lud, no wig drama. Why are you such a spineless coward of a person now that you've inserted yourself and your girlfriend into this conversation?
Okay, iDubbbz, I hear you. You're in the room with me right now. I hear you. I hear your request. I understand it. I can understand where it's coming from. And I guess have a policy that when there is a grade for an apology, I am just grading that discreet apology as I see it without taking any
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if he does this like for a lot of different videos, but I suppose that's fair, right? Like if he's grading apology videos on YouTube, like taking the specific the actual video itself as its own thing is kind of, I can get why you would want that in abstract, but I do feel like having then like an in retrospect, how they, you know, how they presented this. I think a good example of this was like one of the early apologies by Logan Paul about the Japanese force situation. The I've made a series of lapses in judgment one. I feel like that on its own was a decent apology video, but then he proved to just not care immediately afterward. So I feel like that context is relevant.
consideration of prior or future behavior. If you're wanting me to comment on the overall behavior or the recent behavior from the clips that you have shown me, I believe that Ethan is a good person, and that eventually he will feel sorrow and will feel sorry and will apologize, and I will be there to evaluate that apology when it happens, which I know it will.
Oh, brother, that guy stinks! Unfortunately, Kirk did not change his grade, but that's okay.
Worth a shot.
Because this is the internet. Anyone can have their own official apology rating system. So I'm going to rate Ethan's apology a B-. That's just based on my own feelings and my own rubric. When Psychology in Seattle was watching these video clips of Ethan, he said that it looks like Ethan could just use a hug. Now, of course, it kind of pisses me off to hear that shit, because I'm like...
He's a grown-ass man who is inciting harassment campaigns against a bunch of other people and has spent his entire last few months insisting on defending a genocidal regime, because if he comes out against it, it's going to make him look bad and hurt his ego.
What are we doing? What are we saying? He needs a hug? No, he doesn't need a hug.
He's a
good fucking ass whooping is what he needs. I think something that's very important to me in bringing back Content Cop is to be fair. I think that was something that was not illustrated in previous Content Cops that I think should have been, and probably wouldn't have left me with so much regret. Ethan deserves all of the criticism that he's getting. I think it's very valid. But I also think, at the end of the day, we should acknowledge that he's human, because he is human, and he is in a situation that's making him extremely scared, paranoid, defensive, sensitive, and I'm sure other features and feelings. In the spirit of Kirk saying that it looks like Ethan could just use a hug, I have challenged some of his most powerful haters to put down the haterade and just say something nice and charitable about him, because I think he deserves it.
I just wanted to say that I respect that you are genuinely yourself on the internet. I think a lot of other people respect you for it as well. I think that's a big reason why people were drawn to your content in the first place. I think that's a lot of the reason why your employees chose to work with you over anyone else.
Ethan, I think it's respectable that you even began this journey to leave behind the anti-SJW crowd and step into a more empathetic worldview. I know it's not easy.
Ethan Klein, I think that when you are being goofy, when you're being silly, when you are being lighthearted, and just having fun with your friends, I think that is when you're at your best. So I'd love to see more of that. That'd be sick.
I will be reading my letter off because I don't want to sound robotic. H3 used to be the sports for good that I used to watch. I hope that one day gets back to what I remember. You were one of the inspirations for me to start creating content, so all this has stunk. I hope you really hear this, and I wish you the best.
I think Ethan Klein rocks a buzz cut pretty good. He's got a good choice of facial hair. I think it's really cool what he did 8 years ago, fighting that frivolous lawsuit. That was pretty fucked up, and fighting it, you know, he changed YouTube for the better. And I thought that was cool, because I thought it was like, he was fighting for free speech.
You know, I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Neil. I'm like, fuck, like, it's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like, if you come to their defense, if that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them.
And I have been kind of slipping into a very unhealthy place where it's gotten worse and worse, and I get criticized more and more, and I get more defensive and more hold up, a feeling of almost infallibility, that I could take anything on. It led me to make a lot of mistakes, And then when I was criticized for those mistakes, then I would act extremely defensive and nasty and not really processing them in a healthy way.
And that's it. Wow. This video made me realize I'm maybe not as chronically online as most people. That was a fantastic end to the video. I feel like so much about my own personal journey, and like, I used to be a far more judgmental person. I used to not really give people the chance to grow and apologize and to move. Excuse you, ma'am. I did not ask you to proceed. So like I feel like the change of, you know, the more hostile, just as like a joke content cop, to like this, where he really gave Ethan the opportunity to apologize and to move forward as gracefully as possible. The onus is totally on Ethan now as to how he wishes to respond. iDubbbz was critical, but he was also compassionate. I've not seen any of his response to it, but like, if Ethan responds to this extremely poorly and negatively, I think it's safe to say that the guy is too far gone. It's beyond the point where he's able to really recover in his current persona. It would require a pretty extensive amount of effort. I truly think that Ethan needs to just take a step off of the internet for a while. Like, it's not doing him any good. It's doing a lot of harm to his own mental health, his own interpersonal relationships. It's harming so many other people with these hate brigades. He's so irresponsible with his own fan base. He needs to take a step back. And this provides him the opportunity to do so gracefully. I intend on looking into what the response is. I don't think there's any amount of money you could pay me to watch the entirety of Ethan's response. I imagine the way that it probably is going to look like. I mean, I saw it on the... It was several hours long. Yeah, just shy of 4 hours long. I imagine what the video likely looks like is Ethan absolutely losing his shit in the first major components, and then him probably struggling on how to really spin it towards the end where it became so sympathetic. This has been an interesting one. Yeah, I really respect iDubbbz for coming out and, you know, saying his piece and doing it in such a tactful way. It really goes to show that growth is possible. That iDubbbz started as just, you know, a vague internet shitposter who was very irresponsible with his language, with his content, and with his audience, and has transformed it into a force for good. And he's now providing that opportunity for Ethan to do the same. The question is, will Ethan actually make the effort to change, or will he continue to keep just using the button to erase any mistakes of his life rather than take accountability? That's it for this one.